An art business that keeps growing without Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. It's absolutely possible, and I'm going to share why I quit these platforms, how I did it so it wouldn't hurt my business, and what has happened since. Hi, I'm Françoise. I'm a watercolor artist. I started painting back in 2019, and back then I really started from zero. I started from my living room table, as still is the case today. I had no painting skill and no following, no experience dealing with social media or anything like it. And I actually did start with YouTube. I quickly created an Instagram account after that I linked to a Facebook art page, and much later came a TikTok account. So today I'll talk about Instagram because that is the platform I used to be active on the most. In the beginning, Instagram was fun. I was focused on developing my skills and making some friends, and at the same time, Instagram seemed like the best place to build a portfolio and make meaningful connections. So I was taking a lot of watercolor for beginner classes on Skillshare, and I also started taking part in challenges that other creators were putting together there. And thanks to those classes and the challenges, just a year after starting watercolor, I had really improved. I even had a small following, a lot of art friends, and a lot of inspiration and motivation to create. And that's why in some cases, I really wouldn't discourage anyone from spending some time there as long as they're enjoying it or getting something out of it. It really is a question to ask yourself. What are you there for, and is it serving you? Unfortunately, we know how harmful social media can be, and now I'm going to explain why I decided to throw all of this away and what I was doing besides social media to secure the growth of my art business. So why did I decide to quit if this was so fun? First, my Instagram account, Black Fine Art, exploded out of the blue. I went from 800 subscribers to 12,000 in 3 months. This was just before I became a brand ambassador for Art Philosophy Watercolors and that my tiny art business officially started. And as you can imagine, I was on top of the world, but there was one problem. I didn't know why my account exploded. I was still a beginner after all. I didn't have a style, and I was just sharing my versions of the classes that I had taken with proper referral to the teachers, of course. Anyways, that was great, so I kept painting, and soon after, I found my realistic style. And so I was able to move away from classes a lot more and really start creating on my own, which in my mind could only help me grow even more because I was not a beginner anymore. I had more credibility, I had a style, and I had a lot to share and help with. I even started teaching on Skillshare and partnering with brands. Except that social media doesn't really care about hard work and experience, and things really started to go south a few months after my explosive growth. My art simply became less and less visible. The more I improved, it seemed, the more it was, and the many people who had followed me weren't really there. And this is not about vanity numbers and wanting to have a big following. For a working artist, anyone, especially one starting out, visibility determines everything else. It helps with credibility and sales, and it fosters more professional growth and so on. It really helps lay a solid foundation for the business. And that's why at the time, I was so fixated on growing my social media like many other of my peers still are today, and maybe you watching this video can relate to. So even though all of this happened and kept on going forever and ever, I still enjoyed these social media platforms. I really liked the idea of sharing photos with others and having interesting conversations. I hadn't been putting all my eggs in one basket, so I kept slowly building multiple streams of income without much visibility. Skillshare classes, lives with Etcher Studio, brand partnerships. I was patient, consistent, and in some way, it paid off a little bit. Reels and the emergence of short-form videos changed everything. I honestly think that it's the worst thing for content creators and artists because it takes time, it adds pressure, it fuels comparison and more overthinking, and the people scrolling through most times aren't even the target audience, or sometimes they are, but they're so overwhelmed by all the information that they have that they'll bookmark your content and they'll just forget about it soon after. So I think that the views with this quick type of videos means even less than simple photos of the art did. I started resenting the extra work from having to create reels, TikToks, shorts, and I also disliked interrupting myself in the middle of a painting session to go post and engage. It all felt very silly and very, very far from a natural and healthy way of living life. And the first trigger for wanting to quit was to witness a few fellow creators with similar realistic styles as mine hop on the easy, quick art trend and explode with reels for painting a circle with gouache, things like these. That really disgusted me from playing the game of short videos. I really felt like it didn't align with my type of art, even though for some who paint like I do, short form and social media seems to work out really good. I had also already quit TikTok because as a woman born in the 80s, I couldn't relate as much. But still, I couldn't resolve to quit Instagram and Facebook because then I was really afraid that it would ruin all my efforts and all hopes of visibility. So I did something that not very many people would dare to do with social media. I decided to slap fear in the face and fly on my own. I abandoned my 18,000 subscribers Instagram account in the fall of 2022, and I created a new one there from scratch to study its effects on my art business. This account started with 50 of my original followers and friends, no more, because this is how bad my visibility was on Instagram. No one really knew that I created a new account because they couldn't even see my stories. The goal with that new account was to give the platform another chance to start fresh, except that this time I stopped all engagement and I cut off all ways for me to compare to my peers by simply not following them. In other words, I made the place a bit healthier and easier to deal with for me. I got to keep the portfolio aspect, access to other creators if I needed it, but I did make an effort to keep creating consistent posts and reels even though it was still very time consuming and I still did not enjoy the reels at all. So I can tell you that in the fall of 2022 when I started that account, my art business was still small and I made little income for it, not enough to actually have a minimum wage in France. But with this drastic Instagram decision, I had finally decided to build a website and launch a newsletter. And I also had 20 classes on Skillshare and a qualified following there. And I had this YouTube channel, but it was still small, about 8,000 subscribers at the time, mainly because I was too busy trying to figure out Instagram and constantly create for it. I had also done a few lives with Etcher Studio, and in general, I'd say I was established online as a watercolor teacher, even though I wasn't making much. With the extra time from engaging much less on Instagram and not seeing all the other posts there, I doubled down on my long YouTube videos like this one because this platform might fit in the social media category for some, and yet I can tell you I find that it treats its creators a lot better when it comes to rewarding the work and time that you put in. Besides, I really do enjoy making these long-form videos just because I find that they're a lot more valuable than a 15-second one. If you think about it, people who watch these long videos, not the shorts, are also part of a qualified audience. Otherwise, they wouldn't take the time to do it. That's why feedback is also generally a lot more meaningful, more interesting than the same old Instagram post feedback. And that even if everything isn't perfect on YouTube and that making each video is a full-time job in itself. On my new Instagram account in 1 year, I gathered my first 1,000 subscribers with no engagement nor help from having this other large account. And it's amazing that despite this small number and an average of 100 people reached with each post, my art business actually grew like never before since then, to the point of me making back what I used to earn as an employee every month without fault since March of this year. And I know this is going to keep growing as it always has because of all the work and effort that is compounding and paying off. So as you can see, what has worked for me was to develop several streams of income early on, and I would recommend for you to do the same if you want to build a strong art business and to try and avoid to spend all your time on Instagram, especially if you don't enjoy it. By quitting these demanding social media platforms, I managed to develop my YouTube channel a lot better. I was more consistent here and I spent time improving my videos to you guys. So I grew my baby channel by more than 30,000 subscribers in 1 year, and now my videos average 10,000 views. And considering it took me 3 years to reach 8,000 subscribers, that's a lot. I was also invited by Skillshare to join their top teacher group earlier this year, again because I have been so active and put in so much effort into making quality classes there consistently these past few years. These two things, YouTube and Skillshare, really have helped me with visibility, and I can say for sure that Instagram or Facebook or TikTok really had nothing to do with that. I also took opportunities to teach locally, something I wasn't doing before, and again, social media had nothing to do with it. And more recently, with the extra time that I have from not overthinking my social media all the time or making a bunch of reels, I've launched a Patreon. And that's something I always feared to do before because of the work and the commitment it entails. But without the weight of having to be on social media all the time, I did that last May, finally. And this painting is an example of what you'll find there. Mostly watercolor and watercolor pencil tutorials in real time for beginner and intermediate levels. And I'll add a link to that in the description of the video if that can help you as well. Now I'd like to talk to you about the mental impact of no Instagram because I think that this is even more important. I told you that the rise of Reels was one big trigger for wanting to quit, but there were others. This summer, I saw how I did not miss posting to Instagram at all after a month-long break. Another sign it was time to let go. I also got to see how fellow teachers on Skillshare are struggling to bring students to their classes, even though some of them have a lot of followers and likes, which is crazy and validates even more everything that I was thinking about the empty consequences of short-form videos on an art business. These videos are making very little impact on the creator's audience, I think. And again, yes, I know these videos are working for some, but I don't think they do for most people. I think they just get buried among other videos. And I'm just sharing my experience and what I've witnessed. And if you enjoy making these videos, then you should totally go for it. And maybe if I had liked it a little more, my results would have been different. My business values are work, simplicity, and elegance. And I think that to grow your art business, hard work is not everything, but it still matters more than anything else because like me, you can figure out a way to be more visible and actually make a living. About simplicity, imagine simplifying your days and simplifying your life, clearing up all the overthinking and constant pressure to perform. Imagine the extra time you'll have without these social media platforms when you're not enjoying them. Sometimes I reflect and I realize that I don't miss this at all, as if I was never there. It's just very strange. To conclude, visibility is important, but hard work shouldn't go unnoticed, and that is why I would recommend to think strategically about what could help you get your message out there in a way that feels enjoyable and sustainable to you. Your path is not going to be exactly mine, and that's normal. A question to ask, however, is where are your people hanging out? And if you enjoyed that place they're at, then go all in. And I hope this video was helpful in getting rid of that fear and doing what feels right to you. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.